Being confident with the driver is one of the most important things you can do for your golf game. You see, nothing has a bigger impact on strokes gained and lowering your scores than having a direct shot in regulation to the green from your drive. That is proven time and time again across all different levels of golfers. But here's the thing, you don't have to try and hit a huge, massive 300-yard drive. You don't have to hit a draw. You just have to hit consistent shots. The setup with the driver is crucial. Too many of you are skipping several of the steps, but you have to hear me when I say this. When you get the setup right, your swing improves like that because there's less manipulation. So let's get it right with ease. First key, I want you at address to move your lead hip, for me, my left hip, I want you to move this up, okay? It's gonna make a lot more sense when we get into the second part with the backswing. But moving this left hip a little bit further forward, so this leg is kicking in a bit, and we have a bit more tilt here, that's gonna enable me to move a lot better in the backswing. So it's not just bumping the hip forward or leaning forward. The way to do it is actually, I want you to put the club across your shoulders like so it's staying pretty level. When we move the hip further forward, we don't want to be dipping down because that's going to get you stuck, which happens a lot. So we want to move this hip forward. There's a slight little kink here, but we're maintaining more or less a level shoulder width. Too often we're way too low with the hands here. The backside sticking out, so we can't get enough of a swing and we have to end up swinging over the top, forcing that kind of action. We can eliminate it by a big amount, literally by giving ourselves a little bit more room. So we're going to stand a little bit taller. I'm just sort of tucking in my backside. So it's not as angled here. I'm just bringing that in a little bit and I'm allowing my arms to hang pretty naturally. I don't want to be too close. I'm just raising my chest up. I'm feeling nice and tall and my arms are going to hang naturally about here, okay? That there is my radius. That there is important because I don't just move my club to here because I'm always going to be fighting returning back to neutral. So I find this position and then I shuffle forward like into the ball to find my balance and to find my radius. And this here makes me feel much more athletic. It's going to make it easier for me to get a fuller swing. Even if I get only swinging to about here, it's much easier when you're a little bit taller and you have that reliable radius. We don't want to be fidgeting around, okay? Always stick that because the more consistent we can get with this, the more consistent the shots will be. You've been told to have the ball sort of opposite the heel here. What happens? It gradually gets further and further forward because you're feeling more and more stuck. But the further forward it goes, the more like we have to sort of find it, and then we start chasing it with the upper body and we get that pull slice crappy shot. But we don't want to just move the ball a little bit further back, okay? We do, and we're not really paying any attention to the feet. If you really have to, we're just looking about a club head inside here. And you think that's kind of far back for a driver. Bear with me a moment. It is if you have your old setup where you're not having that lead hip up a little bit. You see what that does? That changes my angle of attack. And then from there, it feels much more comfortable. If I was over here, I'd be having to compensate and that arm would collapse in, various other things. So I'm going to have it at least by my logo here, on the inside of my logo, right? That's where the ball position we're trying to be. Now, I don't want you to set up the club right behind the ball, okay? I want you to actually set it up a club head behind, sort of on the inside. So I'm moving it back to here. And you can see now, oh, that club's aiming right, but all it's going to do is encourage my path to go more that way rather than this way. And it's going to help me deliver it without too steep of an angle of attack. It's going to help me sweep it up there. And it's simply by starting just a club head back and on the inside. We don't want it to go out here, just there, very naturally. What do we want to do next? This is where too often panic sets in and we think, crap, I got to try and hit this harder. That's where over the top comes in, and that's where we screw up the sequence. So you have to remember this. Sequence will always overpower speed. What I mean by that is when you're trying to just hit it harder and faster, you lose the sequence. But when you get the sequence of movements correct in a nice smooth order, the ball goes further without trying to hit it further. And this whole series is focusing on just hitting the ball better and straighter. The intermediate point is your guide to get your alignment, your setup focused. Because when I'm just sort of looking here, I see all of that. I see all of that I'm going to hit along. It gets too overwhelming. But if I choose a very specific point down here, like a foot in front of the ball that is on the path, the direction that I want to hit the shot, my mind, my focus basically gets narrowed to just think about this. It's a simpler task for me to try and get my ball over that specific intermediate point. We've talked about a lot of stuff that's happening back here or at impact or just here through the release. But sometimes, actually a lot of the time, especially when we've done a bit of work on it, like watching lessons, rehearsing at home, whatever it might be, we can forget to basically finish and make a complete swing. We don't want it to be technical ever. And one way we can get away from that is just having one simple task to finish nice and balanced and getting that chest to the sky. What that is going to do, having this aim more to the sky, sort of out to the right a little bit, good things have to happen for me to get here. Understanding what we want to do with the release is going to be huge. So if I hold the club here like this, right? Let's say I've got my impact. I'm getting into impact, like that's where I am at impact. If I do not release the hands and release the wrists correctly, the only way I'm going to be able to generate speed is muscling with my whole body. The only way I'm going to move that, if I keep this in place, is to rotate that body. And if I do that from there, where's that going? It's going over the left. But if I release it there, see how much straighter and more of a release that's going to give me? It's that simple. It's just about using the wrists.